Chosen one. Stop scrolling for just a moment. Heaven has paused everything around you to deliver this word. This is not coincidence. This is not random. This is a divine interruption. You have been asking for confirmation. And here it comes. Not wrapped in lightning or thunder, but in words that pierce the hidden places of your heart. You have always felt different. From childhood, something inside of you knew you didn't quite fit in with the patterns of those around you. Even when you tried, you couldn't fully blend in. That was never an accident. That was the fingerprint of God on your life. You were marked long before the world noticed you. I need you to hear this. Your life has not been ordinary, because you are not ordinary. You are chosen. There have been nights when you wondered if you were forgotten. There were mornings when the weight of your battles made you question whether your prayers even reached heaven. But every tear has been seen. Every whisper has been heard. Not one cry of yours has been lost. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. Think of a seed hidden deep in the soil. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening, just dirt. Silence. Waiting. But inside, the shell is breaking. Life is stirring. Roots are stretching. That has been your season. Hidden, buried, pressed, but never did. God has been preparing you under the surface. And this moment, this very word you are receiving now, is like the first shoot pushing above the soil. Heaven is announcing, you are stepping out of the ground of obscurity into the light of destiny. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a future. That is not poetry, it is prophecy over your life. You are not finished. You are not defeated. You are about to step into the future God has designed. Let me tell you about another chosen one. Her name was Ruth. She was widowed young, overlooked in a foreign land. Everything about her life screamed limitation and loss. But she made one decision to cling to the God of Naomi, even when it meant walking away from what was familiar. That decision changed her entire destiny. From a widow in the fields, she was positioned in the lineage of kings, even leading to the birth of Christ. Your life may look like a field of scraps right now. It may feel like you are just picking up leftovers, like Ruth did behind the reapers. But what looks like leftovers to others is positioning for you. The unseen hand of God is guiding your steps toward divine appointments. Chosen one. Do not despise your waiting season. Eagles don't stay in the nest forever. They spread their wings in the windstorms, and storms, as frightening as they look, are what lift eagles higher. What the enemy sent to bury you will be the very thing God uses to elevate you. But here is the part you must not ignore. To carry this mantle, you cannot remain silent. You cannot stay hidden forever. You must step forward. Share what has been stirring inside of you. Encourage others, even as you are being lifted yourself. The enemy wants to silence your testimony because he knows your voice is a weapon. But heaven is saying, rise, speak, move. If this word resonates deep in your spirit, do not keep it to yourself. Let it be a sign. Click the share button so someone else who is weary may find strength again. Leave a comment below. Even a simple word like Amen or I receive this, because your agreement activates something in the spirit. And yes, subscribe. not because of algorithms, but because you need to stay connected to every word heaven is pouring out for you. Remember, when you respond, it's not about pleasing a channel, it's about taking action that says, Lord, I will not sit back. I will rise. Chosen one. You'll never forgive yourself if you let this moment slip by. You will feel it in your spirit if you walk away without responding, because this is not casual, it is covenant. So right now, if you feel the stirring, let heaven see your faith. Write in the comments, 777. It will not be just a number, it will be a prophetic marker of your yes, your alignment, your willingness to soar like the eagle you were always destined to be. From the very beginning, you were marked. Before you ever took your first breath, heaven had already written your name into a story that stretches beyond time. That's why you've never fully blended in, while others seemed at home in the patterns of the world. You always felt an inner pull, a quiet difference that you couldn't explain. There were moments you questioned yourself. You asked, why can't I just be like everyone else? Why do I feel so out of place? But that inner tension wasn't rejection, it was direction. It was God's fingerprint, whispering, you are set apart. No, think of a soldier chosen for a special mission, while others are dismissed, laughing, living without much thought. He is held back by the commander, trained more intensely, prepared in silence. He might envy those released early, but one day he will understand why his preparation was longer, harder, deeper. That is your life. The extra weight, the longer waiting, the sense of never quite fitting in it is evidence of calling. Even your struggles confirm it, because the battles you fought would have destroyed someone else, but not you. Somehow, even in your lowest places, you rose again. Something within you refused to quit. That something was not just resilience, it was the Spirit of God sustaining you. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 21, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. How many times did you plan to live one way, only for your path to shift suddenly? At the time, you may have called it disappointment, but later, you saw it was divine redirection. What you thought was loss was often protection. What felt like delay was positioning. Let me take you into a story. There was a young man. Let's call him Daniel, not the prophet of old, but a modern chosen one. From childhood, he was told he was different. He was sensitive to things others ignored, like injustice or pain in people's eyes. He wanted to fit in, so he tried to bury it. He joined the noise, the crowds, the trends, but every time, it felt wrong, empty, heavy, until one day, after losing a close friend, Daniel cried out to God, and in that moment of surrender, he realized the difference wasn't a curse, it was his assignment. He was chosen to carry light into dark places, not to blend into them. You may see yourself in his story. The very things you've resented about yourself, the sensitivity, the depth, the way you feel burdened when others seem carefree, are signs of your calling. They are not flaws. They are markers. They are evidence that you've been set apart. Think of a lighthouse on a stormy shore. Its job is not to disappear into the darkness, but to stand firm. shining through the chaos, guiding ships to safety. A lighthouse is lonely, battered by winds, but it cannot be hidden. Its design is to stand out. That is you, chosen one. I want you to recognize this. Your life carries weight. You cannot compare yourself with those who were not assigned your path. You cannot measure your pace against theirs. They may run freely in fields where you cannot follow, because your footsteps are ordered for another destiny. And this difference will cost you. It already has. You've lost friendships, opportunities, even acceptance, because you could not compromise who you are. But in the kingdom of God, nothing you lost for the sake of obedience is wasted. Nothing. Set apart, that phrase is your story. That is why your prayers are not ignored. That is why your path has been different. That is why you felt like you've been walking against the current. Because you are. You are swimming against a tide the world gladly flows with. And though it is exhausting at times, it is proof you are alive in the spirit, not dead in compromise. Chosen one. You have carried questions for years, wondering if something was wrong with you. But the truth is, something is very right with you. The difference you carry is not a defect, it is destiny. Like gold, hidden in rock. Pressure and fire are required to reveal what lies within. That's why your journey has been harder, but also why your reward will be greater. One day, the very people who questioned you will witness the fruit of your obedience. They will see why you couldn't bend, why you couldn't stay silent, why you couldn't just live normally. And in that moment, you'll understand fully. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. Because you are marked since birth. The weight of rejection has followed you like a shadow, from classrooms where you were misunderstood, to friendships that fractured without warning, to family who never seemed to truly see you. Each wound has whispered, "You don't belong." You've tried to ignore it, to push it down, but it always resurfaced. And for a long time, you believed the lie that rejection meant you were unworthy. But hear me, rejection is not always a curse. Sometimes it is redirection. Sometimes it is protection. Often, it is the mark of someone set apart. Think of a diamond. Before it shines in a crown, it is first rejected by miners who mistake it for an ordinary stone. It is rough, overlooked, cast aside. Only in the hands of the master cutter does its true brilliance appear. That has been you. People didn't recognize your value because they weren't meant to carry you. They weren't assigned to your destiny. The apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 10, "For when I am weak, then I am strong." And this is the paradox of your life. In the places you felt weakest, God was forging the deepest strength. Every season of rejection has been sharpening your spirit, training you to rely not on the approval of man, but on the power of God. Let me tell you a story. A young woman, let's call her Miriam, dreamed of singing. She poured her heart into worship. But every audition ended in a closed door. Friends advanced, while she remained behind. She felt forgotten, discarded. One night, in tears, she whispered, "Why, Lord?" And in that silence, a new understanding came. Her voice was never meant for stages, but for altars. Not for the applause of crowds, but for the healing of souls. Years later, she would sing in hospital rooms, prisons, and shelters, and she saw miracles unfold. What once looked like rejection was redirection into her true calling. That is your story too. What walked away was never meant to stay. The people who misunderstood you were not equipped to carry you. The environments that pushed you out were too small for what God is about to do in you. Chosen one. I know it hurts. I know the sting of being left out. The ache of watching others move ahead while you are still waiting. But look closely. Those very moments have been shaping your anointing. They have built a strength in you that comfort could never teach. Think of a tree standing on a cliff. Winds tear at it. Storms pound it. Yet the roots grow deeper because of the resistance. When calm finally comes, that tree stands firmer than those sheltered in valleys. That's you. Every storm of rejection has driven your roots deeper into God. And here is the truth. Your presence alone already unsettles darkness. That is why you were pushed aside. Why people grew uncomfortable around you. It wasn't you, it was the light within you. Darkness always resists light. But resistance is evidence of calling. So, here's what I ask of you right now. Type in the comments below these 3 words. I am chosen. Don't just write them as a phrase. Write them as a declaration, because every time you affirm it, you silence the lies of rejection. Every time you declare it, you are reminding your own soul that being set apart is not punishment, it is purpose. When you comment those words, think of it as planting a flag. You are saying, I am no longer chasing acceptance where it cannot be found. I am rooted in the truth of who God says I am. And let this sink deep. The same rejection that broke you yesterday is the reason you will walk in authority tomorrow. The very pain you endured will become the oil that anoints others. That is the strange beauty of being chosen. You suffer differently, but you also rise differently. So hold your head high. You are not forgotten. You are not unwanted. You are a vessel marked by heaven. And no rejection on earth can erase what God has written over your life. Rejection, then, becomes the proof of your belonging. It may feel like exclusion, but in truth, it is God pulling you out of places too small for you. The closed doors are not insults, they are instructions. They teach you where not to stay, who not to follow, and what not to accept as your identity. And once you see this clearly, the sting of rejection transforms into a badge of honor. You'll be able to look back at every no and say, that was God's protection. You'll see how every lost connection carved space for divine connection. You'll realize you were never cast out. You were called out. There are battles no one sees, the kind you fight behind closed doors. When the noise of the world fades and silence grows heavy, these are not wars of armies or nations, but struggles of the heart, the mind, and the soul. And though others may look at you and assume you are fine, you know the truth. You have carried storms inside that few could endure. There were nights when your pillow was soaked with tears. You smiled in public, but your spirit was weary in private. People thought you were strong because you never collapsed in front of them. But the reality is different. You've simply learned how to fight quietly, and heaven has seen every hidden battle. Consider the ocean. Its surface can appear calm, but beneath, unseen currents move with great force. In the same way, others may see the surface of your life and imagine serenity, yet beneath that surface there have been fierce currents of fear, doubt, loneliness, temptation, and grief. But here's what you must realize. Surviving battles no one sees means you've developed a strength no one understands. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." No, that is not a verse you frame on a wall. It is a promise, lived out in the midnight hours when you felt crushed, yet somehow still breathing. It is evidence that your cries in secret did not vanish into the air, but were caught by the God who counts every tear. Let me tell you a story of one such, chosen one. His name was Elias. By day, he worked a simple job, invisible to the world. By night, he wrestled with despair. He wanted to give up, convinced that no one would notice if he disappeared. Yet, in those lowest moments, he began to pray short, stumbling prayers, not eloquent, not polished, just whispers like, "Help me, Lord." And something shifted, slowly, like dawn breaking after a long night. Peace began to seep into his heart. Years later, Elias would testify that those unseen prayers were the very foundation of his strength. What he thought were moments of weakness became the birthplace of unshakable faith. That is the truth about your own hidden struggles. They have not disqualified you, they have refined you. Every time you chose to keep going when no one was watching, you built spiritual muscle. Every time you whispered a prayer instead of surrendering to despair, you revealed who you really are, not a victim of darkness, but a warrior of light. Think of a candle burning in a cave. No one outside may see it, but the flame still pushes back the darkness around it. That has been your life. Even in your smallest prayers, your faintest worship, your most fragile hope, you were still shining in places where darkness tried to suffocate you. And it is these hidden battles that qualify you for the greater calling ahead. Because you've fought silently, you are now trusted with authority publicly. God does not crown those who avoided fire. He crowns those who endured it. Chosen one, remember this: your secret tears are sacred. Heaven has stored them like treasure. One day, you will look back and realize that those nights you thought were wasted were actually investments into your destiny. You are not weak because you broke down. You are strong because you rose again. You are not disqualified because you struggled. You are qualified because you didn't surrender. And though the world may never know the depth of your inner wars, the kingdom of heaven celebrates every victory you won in silence. The applause of men may be absent, but the approval of God is already upon you. So when you feel invisible, remind yourself, invisibility is not abandonment. It is intimacy. God has drawn close to you in ways others will never understand. He has walked with you in the valleys, sat with you in the silence, and strengthened you in the shadows. And this is why your future will shine brighter than your past. Because every hidden battle has been shaping a visible testimony. One day, what was forged in secret will be revealed openly. And the world will see a warrior they never expected. So take heart, chosen one. The scars from your hidden battles are not signs of failure, but seals of survival. They whisper of nights you conquered in silence. And they prophesy of mornings where your victory will be undeniable. The enemy has always feared you. That is why the pressure on your life has felt relentless. He saw the mark on you before you even understood it yourself. He recognized the potential of your calling, and he trembled, because light terrified darkness, and your very presence is light. Think about it. When you walk into a room, something shifts. People may not understand it, but they feel it. Some grow uneasy. Others are drawn to you without explanation. That's not coincidence. It's spiritual reality. The authority of God's Spirit resting on you disturbs what is hidden in others. And this is why the warfare has been so intense. Attacks, betrayals, misunderstandings. It's not because you're cursed, but because you carry weight in the Spirit. Hell resists what heaven has chosen. The prophet wrote in the scroll of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7, "The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him." Amen. That is why, despite all the attacks, you are still here, not crushed, not consumed, still breathing, still standing, because you have been carried by a refuge greater than any storm. Now let me share a picture with you. Imagine a lantern in the middle of a stormy night. The rain beats down. The wind tries to extinguish it, but the flame keeps glowing. That lantern may look fragile, but its fire is stubborn, and as long as it shines, travelers in the dark can find their way. You are that lantern, your testimony, your endurance, your hope. They are not just for you. They are a light for someone else wandering in the night. And here is where I want to pause. Not to demand anything, but to extend a gentle invitation. If this word has stirred something in your spirit, if it has reminded you of the light inside you, I invite you to help keep this flame burning. How? First, through your presence by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Think of these simple acts as sparks leaping from your flame into the darkness, each one igniting another torch along the path. Every click is not a routine, it is fuel for the fire. And second, through generosity. I want to be clear, this is not a demand, but a door. Imagine a bridge stretching across a wide river. Every donation is like placing another plank of wood on that bridge, making it stronger, safer, and wide enough for countless souls to cross into hope. When you give, you are not losing, you are extending. You are helping build a bridge that others will walk across to encounter light. Whether it's 1 step or 10, every offering matters. And hear me clearly, your gift is never forced, never measured, only treasured. If you feel led, sow joyfully. If you cannot, then let your voice be your gift share. Subscribe, like, and carry this message further than I ever could alone. Chosen one. The enemy tried to silence you because he knows your light terrifies darkness. But the very fact that you are hearing this now means he has failed. You are still here. The fire is still burning. And as you continue to stand, others will find courage to rise as well. So keep shining, keep standing, keep walking, and if you feel stirred to sow, to support, to strengthen the flame, do so with joy and freedom, never with fear, because this light is not mine, it is ours, and together it will only grow brighter. And never forget, every storm that tried to extinguish your light only proved how necessary your flame is. If darkness fights you this hard, it is because your glow is undeniable. You carry something the world desperately needs. Your life is not random, nor is your endurance meaningless. Each trial, each test, has shaped you into a vessel that cannot be shaken easily. Others may not understand, but heaven does. Heaven has been watching, recording, strengthening you in secret for a moment such as this. And now the moment is here. The weight you carried was not wasted, it was training. The tears you shed were not forgotten, they were watering seeds of destiny. The nights you felt alone were not abandonment, they were encounters in disguise, where God Himself came closer than anyone else could. So walk boldly, not because you are unscarred, but because your scars are holy. They tell the truth that you have been through the fire and yet not consumed. They whisper to every shadow around you, this one cannot be broken. And from this day forward, let your steps carry light. Wherever you go, may people sense hope. Wherever you speak, may chain loosen. You are not here by chance. You are chosen, equipped, and unstoppable. Delay is dangerous. Procrastination feels small at first, just a moment of hesitation. A voice whispering, you'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes a year, until suddenly you look back and realize how much destiny was postponed. Chosen one, you have felt the weight of delay. You've told yourself you were waiting for the perfect moment. But the truth is, perfection never comes. The longer you wait, the more costly the silence becomes. Some doors don't stay open forever. Some opportunities pass by because we were too slow to move when heaven said, now. And think of a ship waiting in the harbor. If it delays its departure, the tide shifts, and the current it was meant to ride is lost. It must then fight harder, with more effort, to go where it could have gone swiftly had it left on time. That has been you. Delay has cost you strength. But here is the good news. The tide is shifting again, and God is calling you to step forward without hesitation. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 13, therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour. And that verse is not meant to scare you, but to wake you up. It is heaven's alarm clock ringing in your spirit, saying, no more delay, no more excuses. Move now. And let me share a story. There was a young man named Caleb. He carried a vision for years, but fear and hesitation kept him still. He kept telling himself, I'll start tomorrow. I'll speak when I feel ready. But readiness never came. One day, the opportunity that had been in front of him was gone, taken by someone else who dared to act. For years, Caleb lived with regret, but then God gave him another chance. This time, he moved immediately, and in his obedience, he discovered that doors respond to action, not hesitation. That's what you need to hear today. Obedience is time, sensitive. When God says, move, He means now. The delay may feel comfortable, but it is costly. Comfort has robbed more destinies than persecution ever could. Think of firewood stacked by a fireplace. It is full of potential, but if no one strikes a match, it remains just wood. Delay is the unstruck match. You carry fire inside, but it cannot spread if you keep waiting for the right time. Chosen one. Heaven is saying, light the fire now. Take the step now. Speak the word now. Don't wait for the perfect conditions step. And God will perfect it as you move. But here is the act I want you to take today. Not tomorrow. Not later. Right now. Leave a mark of agreement that you will not delay any longer. In the comments, type this prophetic number, 444. Why 444? Because it is a sign of alignment, stability, and the firmness of your foundation. When you write it, you are declaring, I am done with hesitation. I choose to stand on solid ground. I step into my calling now. This is not superstition, it is a prophetic action. Just as writing a covenant on paper seals an agreement, leaving this number is your way of sealing your commitment in the presence of heaven. And think of it this way, when you type 444, you are striking the match. You are saying, the waiting season is over. The flame begins now. Do not underestimate this act. Many destinies were unlocked by small steps of faith. Moses lifted his staff, and the sea parted. David picked up a stone, and the giant fell. The widow poured a little oil, and her jars overflowed. It is always the small action that opens the way for the greater miracle. Delay whispers. Later, destiny shouts. Now, and heaven is waiting for your agreement. So hear this clearly. The dangerous delay ends today. You don't need more confirmation. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need everyone to approve. You need one thing, obedience. And obedience begins the moment you say, yes, chosen one. Your next season depends on your present response. Write it. Seal it. Step into it. 444 is not just a number, it is a declaration that hesitation will no longer chain your future. So when you declare 444, you are not just typing digits, you are proclaiming stability in a world that shakes. 4 sides of a foundation, 4 corners of the earth, 4 winds that carry God's breath. It is your sign that you choose to be unmovable, anchored in Him. And every time you see 444, let it remind you, you are standing on solid ground. No more wobbling between choices. No more hesitation between 2 paths. It is your covenant number of alignment, saying, my heart, my steps, my destiny, fully rooted in God's plan. And there are moments when mercy feels like it is stepping back, not because God has abandoned you, but because His Spirit is stirring a holy urgency in your heart. You know those times, the ones where your conscience burns a little hotter, where silence feels heavier, and where every distraction loses its appeal. These are not coincidences. They are warnings of love. Mercy is vast, deeper than oceans, wider than the sky. But mercy is also purposeful. It comes not to lull you into comfort, but to awaken you. Think of a shepherd walking behind his sheep with a staff. He does not strike them every time they wander, but he taps the ground. He whistles. He calls. Those gentle nudges are mercy in action. But if the sheep keeps running toward danger, the shepherd will eventually pull it back sharply. That moment feels severe, but it is still mercy. The ancient words recorded in the book of Hosea, chapter 10, verse 12. Declare, sow righteousness for yourselves. Reap the fruit of unfailing love. And break up your unplowed ground, for it is time to seek the Lord, until He comes and showers His righteousness on you. And this verse is not just poetry, it is a picture of your present season. The ground of your heart has been hard at times, pressed by disappointments, dried by delay, cracked by rejection. Yet mercy is inviting you to break it open again. to allow fresh rain to fall. For when the soil is opened, seeds, long buried, can finally rise. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Ezra. He had walked with God in his youth, but drifted as years went by. At first, it was small, a missed prayer here, a compromise there. He told himself it was fine, that he would return when life felt easier. But the more he delayed, the further away he felt. One night, he dreamed he was walking through a desert, thirsty and exhausted. He saw water in the distance, but chose to rest a little longer before moving. When he finally tried to reach it, the water had vanished. He awoke, trembling, realizing mercy had given him a warning. From that day forward, he turned quickly when God spoke, no longer playing with delay. That dream reflects a truth. Mercy often speaks before consequences arrive. The quiet conviction in your heart is a gift, not a burden. It is heaven saying, "Return now, before the desert deepens." And think of it like a lighthouse flashing in the distance. A sailor could ignore the light, thinking he knows better. But the light was not given to scold, it was given to save. If he keeps sailing toward the rocks, the crash is his choice, not the lighthouse's cruelty. So it is with mercy. You may look back and see times you escaped what could have destroyed you. The accident that didn't happen. The temptation you almost fell into but turned from. The wrong place you left at the right time. Those were not coincidences, they were mercy covering you. But here is what must be understood. Mercy is not endless permission. There comes a moment where continued rebellion hardens the heart, not because God runs out of love, but because your ears stop hearing, your eyes stop seeing, your spirit stops responding. That is why mercy stirs urgency now. Chosen one, the season you are in is not casual. Heaven is leaning close, whispering through circumstances, nudging through conviction, calling you back before delay turns into loss. Picture a clock with its hands moving steadily. It does not pause because you are distracted. It ticks, moment by moment, whether you are ready or not. Mercy is like that clock. It is patient, but it does not freeze. Each tick is another chance to respond. Another reminder that time is sacred, and when you respond, you find something breathtaking. Mercy is not just warning, it is also restoration. The very ground that felt barren can blossom again. The areas you thought were lost forever can suddenly produce fruit. For mercy does not just stop destruction, it creates new beginnings. So, if you sense the weight right now, don't resist it. Lean into it. The heaviness you feel is not condemnation, it is invitation. It is God's way of saying, "Come closer," before you wander too far. Oh, and know this, every time mercy has stepped in for you before, it was not because you were lucky, it was because you are chosen. And being chosen means heaven refuses to let you drift into destruction without first calling your name. There comes a moment when you stand at the cliff's edge. It is not a physical cliff of stone and rock, but a spiritual one, the edge between obedience and rebellion, between vision and blindness, between destiny and destruction. The wind feels sharp there. The ground beneath your feet feels narrow, and every step forward seems both terrifying and necessary. The scriptures speak often of crossroads, points where the path divides, and a decision determines the future. You have felt this before, that sense that one choice could alter everything. It is the holy tension of standing at the cliff's edge. The voice of God thundered in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. This is the essence of the cliff's edge, the moment where choice cannot be postponed. To stand too long in hesitation is to risk falling into blindness. To step forward in obedience is to discover a bridge you never saw until your foot moved. Think of a traveler approaching a foggy mountain path. From afar, it looks like the trail ends abruptly at a drop. His heart pounds, convinced the road is impossible. But when he takes a single step, the mist parts just enough to reveal the continuation of the path. That is how obedience works. The clarity does not come before the step, it comes during it. Let me share a story. A young woman named Leah felt God tugging on her heart to forgive someone who had wounded her deeply. She stood at her cliff's edge. To forgive felt like falling, like giving away her dignity. She delayed for years, holding on to bitterness like armor. But the longer she clung to it, the heavier her spirit became. One day, exhausted, she chose to step forward. She forgave, and in that moment, she discovered what had been hidden all along, a freedom so vast it felt like wings lifting her. The cliff she feared was not a drop into despair, but a doorway into healing. That is the paradox of the cliff's edge. What looks like danger is often destiny. What feels like loss is often gain. What seems like death is often the beginning of life. Yet here lies the warning. The longer you stand frozen, the harder it becomes to move. Every step of hesitation strengthens the chains of fear. Every refusal to act builds another layer of blindness, until suddenly, you no longer see the path at all. Think of iron left in the rain. At first, it shines, still strong, but with time, rust creeps in, layer by layer, until the metal is weakened and brittle. So it is with rebellion. One ignored conviction may seem small, but over time, it layers into blindness, until the heart grows numb. Chosen one. This is why your cliff edge moments matter. They are not just about you. They echo into generations. The choices you make ripple forward, shaping futures you cannot yet see. Deuteronomy reminds us, choose life, so that you and your children may live. Your yes today can unlock doors for your bloodline tomorrow. Do not despise the weight of this season. You stand where heaven and earth intersect, where light and darkness contend. The gravity you feel is not meant to crush you, but to awaken you. It is God saying, do not play at the edge. Step into life. And take comfort in this. You are not alone on the cliff's edge. The Spirit of God stands beside you, steadying your trembling heart. He is not pushing you toward destruction. He is guiding you toward life. The step may feel terrifying, but He already knows the ground is solid. Picture a child learning to walk. At first, every step is shaky, uncertain, but the parent's arms are stretched out, ready to catch. The child believes it might fall, but the parent knows the step will be safe. That is the Father with you now. So, as you face your cliff's edge, do not be deceived by fear. The drop is an illusion. The enemy wants you frozen, but God wants you free. One step of obedience is all it takes to turn the cliff into a bridge. So let your heart be steady. The edge is not your end. It is your invitation. What looks like a breaking point is actually a birthing point. And the very place you feared would destroy you is the ground where your wings will finally spread. The cliff's edge is not where you fall, it is where you rise. Step forward and watch heaven transform fear into flight, hesitation into momentum, and uncertainty into unshakable vision. There comes a cry inside the soul that no one else hears. It is not polished, not eloquent, not rehearsed. It erupts when the weight becomes too heavy, when the silence becomes unbearable, when the heart can no longer pretend. That cry is surrender. Surrender is not weakness. It is the strongest decision a chosen one can make. Because surrender is not giving up, it is giving over. It is taking the battles you cannot fight alone and placing them into the hands of the one who has never lost. The Apostle Paul wrote to the Romans in chapter 12, verse 1, "Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." That is what surrender really is, not just words, but offering yourself fully, not just in moments of worship, but in the unseen choices of daily life. When you surrender pride, forgiveness flows. When you surrender fear, courage rises. When you surrender control, destiny unfolds. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Jonah, not the prophet of old, but a modern one who carried a call he didn't want. He resisted for years, drowning his conviction in busyness. But the more he resisted, the heavier life became. Finally, in exhaustion, he whispered 3 words, "Lord, take it." That night, peace entered his heart like a flood. He realized the fight was never his to carry. From then on, his obedience flowed not from striving, but from surrender. That same invitation is reaching you now. The cry of surrender doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be eloquent. It just needs to be true. Heaven is not waiting for your perfect speech. It is waiting for your honest yes. Think of a clenched fist. It can hold tightly to control, but it cannot receive anything new. Only when it opens does it have space for gifts to be placed within. That is surrender, opening the hand of your soul so that heaven can fill it. Chosen one, do not be afraid to surrender. You will not lose yourself in the process, you will discover yourself. You will not lose freedom, you will gain it. Because the cry of surrender is the beginning of strength. And here is where I want you to take action. As a prophetic sign, type these words in the comments. I lay it down. Emsa, it is short. It is simple, but it carries weight. Because when you write it, you are declaring, this burden is not mine anymore. This battle is not mine anymore. My life is not mine anymore. It belongs fully to God. Emsa, and let me explain why this matters. Every declaration you make shifts the atmosphere. Words are not empty, they create. When you speak or write, surrender, you are aligning heaven and earth around your life. You are loosening chains you didn't even realize were binding you. So let your heart cry out now. It doesn't matter if your voice shakes. It doesn't matter if your words are few. Surrender is not about length. It is about truth. And in that truth, God's strength will meet you. The phrase, I lay it down, is not just something to type. It is a declaration of exchange. You are setting down the weight that has bent your back so that heaven can place strength upon your shoulders. It is a spiritual transaction, your burden for His peace, your fear for His courage. When you write, "I lay it down," you are breaking the cycle of carrying what was never yours. Think of a traveler overloaded with bags, stumbling on the road. Every bag dropped makes the journey lighter. Your words are the act of dropping those bags. Shame, fear, regret, bitterness. With each one released, you walk freer. Those three words also echo surrender, seen throughout Scripture. Abraham laid down Isaac on the altar, and in that surrender discovered Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides. Jesus laid down His life, and through His surrender came the resurrection of all. In the same way, your laying down is not an end. It is the opening for new life to rise. And there is a hidden power in the simplicity. You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to justify. The brevity of "I lay it down" shows complete trust. It is like opening a clenched fist without needing to name every item inside. God already knows what you are releasing, and He is ready to receive it. So when you declare it, let it not be just ink on a page or words on a screen. Let it be your covenant cry. Each time you see it, remind yourself, that weight is no longer mine. That fear no longer owns me. That regret no longer chains me. I have laid it down. There comes a time when your authority begins to reveal itself, not the authority of titles or positions, but the authority of heaven resting on your life. This authority is quiet, yet unshakable. It does not shout, but when it speaks, chains break. It does not push, but when it moves, atmospheres shift. Chosen one. This is what is stirring in you now. The mantle of authority that has been resting quietly on your shoulders is beginning to awaken. Every trial you endured, every rejection you faced, every hidden battle you survived, they were all preparation. They were chiseling you, shaping you, strengthening you for this moment. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, proclaim, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Authority does not come from arrogance. It comes from alignment. It is not about standing taller than others, but about standing firmly in God. When you walk in alignment with Him, your words carry a weight you cannot manufacture, because they are backed by heaven itself. Think of a soldier holding a standard in battle. The flag itself has no power, but the army behind it makes enemies tremble. In the same way, your voice is not strong because of who you are in yourself. It is strong because of who stands behind you. Let me share a story. A man named Samuel once felt ordinary, overlooked in every room he entered. Yet whenever he prayed, people felt peace they could not explain. He never sought recognition, but his quiet authority began to change his family, his workplace, even strangers. One day someone asked, "Why do things shift when you pray?" Samuel smiled and said, "Because I no longer stand in my strength, but in His." That is the essence of authority, heaven moving through willing vessels. Now, here is where I want to pause with you. If these words are resonating, if you feel the stirring of authority within, I invite you to help extend this message, not by compulsion, but by choice. The simplest way is through liking, sharing, and subscribing. Think of it like planting lanterns along a dark road. Each light you place helps another traveler find their way. Your one click may feel small, but to someone stumbling in darkness, it can be the signpost that saves their steps. And there is another way, one that is entirely voluntary, yet deeply meaningful through donation. I want you to see this not as a transaction, but as participation. Imagine a well in a desert. Every drop of water poured in keeps the well from running dry, so that the thirsty may drink. Your gift is a drop that sustains the flow of life to countless others. Or think of a great tree. Its roots are nourished by many small streams. Each stream matters. Each one adds strength. When you give, you become one of those streams, feeding the roots so that the tree can keep bearing fruit. That fruit does not stay on the tree, it falls to the ground, feeding others, multiplying life. And let this be clear, whether you give or not, your worth does not change. Authority is already yours in Christ. But giving is a beautiful choice, a way of saying, I want my life to be part of this river. I want my seed to be part of this harvest. And generosity has never been about amounts. It has always been about alignment. A single seed placed in good soil multiplies beyond its size. A single drop of oil keeps the lamp burning through the night. A single stone in David's sling brought down a giant. Small acts, when surrendered, become mighty in God's hands. So if your heart stirs, give with freedom. And if you cannot, then shine your light by sharing, subscribing, liking. These, too, are offerings. Together, they weave a tapestry of voices, a chorus of lights, declaring to the world, the chosen are rising. No, chosen one, your authority is awakening. Do not doubt it. Do not dismiss it. Stand in it. And as you stand, may your voice break chains. May your presence disrupt darkness. And may your choices, whether to sow, to share, or to shine, become the sparks that set others free. And remember this, true authority is never heavy-handed. It is gentle, yet firm. It is steady, yet kind. When you walk in it, others feel lifted, not crushed. That is the kind of authority God has entrusted to you, a mantle that carries both power and compassion. So let your steps be bold, but let your heart remain soft. Shine brightly, but never forget the source of your light. And in everything, let your awakened authority guide others closer to the one who called you. There is a hidden weapon you carry. 1. The enemy fears more than your talent, your knowledge, or even your strength. It is your voice, not simply the sound of it, but the authority it carries when aligned with heaven. From the very beginning, creation responded to words. Light came because God spoke it. Seas partid. Nations shifted. Destinies unfolded, all through the spoken word. This is why your voice is dangerous to darkness. When you speak truth, leaves collapse. When you release prayer, atmospheres bend. When you declare faith, the unseen begins to take shape. The Apostle James reminds us in chapter 5, verse 16, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. This is not poetry. It is a law in the Spirit. Your prayers do not vanish into air. They move like arrows, piercing what eyes cannot see. They are not weak whispers, they are divine strategies. Weapons that strike where swords cannot reach. Think of rain falling on parched soil. To the eye, each drop seems small, almost insignificant, but over time, the ground softens, cracks close, and life begins to rise. Prayer works the same way. Each word may feel fragile, but together they saturate dry places until fruit bursts forth. Let me share a story. A woman named Anna lived in a small village. No one considered her powerful. She had little wealth, no title, no position. Yet she prayed. Every morning before dawn, she whispered names to heaven, her children, her neighbors, her town. People laughed, saying her prayers changed nothing. But years later, that same village experienced a spiritual awakening. Familias reconciliadas. Addictions broke. Hope returned. When asked how it began, many traced it back to Anna's prayers. What others dismissed as weakness had been the strongest force in their community all along. This is the power of your voice. You may not feel influential in rooms of men, but you are weighty in the courts of heaven. You may not carry weapons of war, but your words unleash armies of angels. Think of sound waves. You cannot see them, but they move through air, carrying energy that vibrates and shifts what it touches. Your prayers are like those waves, invisible, but undeniable, silent to human ears, but thunderous in the spirit. Chosen one, the enemy works tirelessly to silence you. He floods your mind with lies. Your prayers don't matter. Your words are weak. Your voice is unheard. He does this because he knows the opposite is true. He knows that if you keep speaking, he keeps losing. So, do not underestimate yourself. Your whispered prayer in the night might be the very reason someone's life is spared. Your declaration of faith might be the very spark that ignites breakthrough in your family. Your song of worship, even if sung in weakness, might scatter darkness in ways you cannot imagine. There are battles fought by armies, and there are battles fought by voices, and often the latter are stronger. When Joshua led Israel around Jericho, it was not swords that brought the walls down, it was a shout. When Paul and Silas were chained in prison, it was not keys that set them free, it was their songs of praise. Your voice carries that same authority. Picture yourself as a trumpet, on its own, metal and silence. But when breath flows through it, sound bursts forth, shaking walls, calling armies, announcing victory. You are that trumpet when the Spirit breathes through your surrendered words. And remember this, prayer is not only for crisis. It is not just a last resort. It is your daily weapon, your steady rhythm, your constant connection. A soldier does not polish his sword only in battle. He keeps it sharp, always. In the same way, your voice is strongest when it is consistently lifted, not just in emergencies, but in every season. So guard your voice. Do not waste it on bitterness or curses. Use it for blessing, for declaring life, for calling forth what God has promised. Every careless word drains power, but every faithful word multiplies it. And when you feel small, remind yourself, heaven has never measured power by volume. It measures by alignment. Even the faintest whisper of a righteous heart can shake nations. Your voice is a weapon. Use it boldly. Use it faithfully. and watch as darkness trembles at the sound of prayers it cannot silence. So even in moments when you feel voiceless, remember, silence itself becomes defiance against darkness when your heart remains aligned with God. Your very breath is a reminder to the enemy that you are still here, still chosen, still carrying unshakable authority. Lift your voice often, not in fear, but in confidence. Each word becomes a seed. Each prayer becomes a flame. And together they grow into a fire that cannot be quenched. Your voice is not small, it is eternal. There are moments in life that act like turning points. They feel ordinary on the surface, a simple decision. Akiet, Jes, a step forward, but in the spirit, they mark transition. You have entered such a moment. The season behind you has been preparation, but the season ahead of you is transformation. The prophet Haggai recorded in chapter 2, verse 9, "The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace." Now, this is your prophetic word. What is coming will outshine what has been. The glory ahead will not merely echo the past, it will surpass it. You are stepping from shadows into light, from hiddenness into revelation, from survival into abundance. Think of a caterpillar weaving itself into a cocoon. To the outside world, it appears lifeless, trapped, motionless. Yet, within, transformation is taking place. Muscles forming, wings growing, vision sharpening. When the cocoon breaks, it does not emerge as what it was, but as something entirely new. That has been you. Your waiting season was not wasted. It was womb-like, forming what is now ready to be revealed. Let me share a story. A young man named Elias spent years working in obscurity. Every day, he poured effort into a dream no one else understood. People mocked him, saying, "You're wasting your time." He nearly gave up, convinced that nothing would ever change. Then, almost suddenly, opportunities opened. The skills he had built quietly became the very tools that lifted him into purpose. Looking back, Elias realized that every hidden year was preparation for the rapid acceleration that followed. Chosen one. This is the same invitation over your life now. The transition has begun. You may not feel the fullness yet, but the atmosphere has shifted. The ground beneath you is stirring. What was once closed is beginning to open. What felt impossible is beginning to align. Think of dawn breaking. At first, the world is still dark, the stars still visible, but slowly, the horizon begins to glow. The light grows stronger until the entire sky shifts. You are in that in-between, the first signs of dawn. Do not mistake the lingering shadows as permanence. Morning is already arriving. And here is the prophetic action I want you to take. To mark your alignment with this word, type the number 999 inches, the comments. Why 999? Because it is a symbol of completion, finality, and transition into something entirely new. Just as a chapter must end before another begins, 999 marks the closing of cycles that no longer serve you and the birthing of a new story. When you write 999, you are declaring, "I step out of what is finished, and I step boldly into what is new." Oh, understand this clearly. Writing the number is not superstition. It is covenant. It is a signpost. just as the Israelites placed stones of remembrance after crossing the Jordan to declare, "God brought us through," your comment becomes a stone of remembrance. Every time you see it, you will recall this moment and say, "That was the day I agreed with heaven's shift." No, think of it like planting a flag at the top of a mountain. The climb was long, the struggle real, but planting the flag marks victory. 999 is your flag. It is your signal to heaven, to earth, and to your own soul that you are stepping fully into what has been promised. Chosen one. You cannot afford to treat this as casual. You stand at the gateway of transformation. What you carry is not just for you, it is for those who will be touched by your obedience, encouraged by your testimony, strengthened by your light. And though the path may still hold challenges, remember, the promise is greater than the pain. The glory ahead is brighter than the shadows behind. The grace you are stepping into now is multiplied, sufficient, and unstoppable. So lift your head. This is your season of transition. This is your dawn. And with every step you take, heaven's declaration will echo, "The glory ahead will be greater." Oh, so when you declare 999, you are not just typing numbers, you are closing doors that no longer belong to you. It is a prophetic act that says, "The unfinished cycles end here. I release the old season with gratitude, and I welcome the new with courage." And each time you see 999, let it remind you, endings are not failures. They are foundations. Just as a seed must break before it grows, so must chapters close before new ones are written. You are not at a dead end, you are at a divine beginning. There are seasons in life that feel like crushing, times when the weight of circumstances presses so heavily that you wonder if you will survive it. These are not comfortable seasons. They stretch you. They strip you. They make you question everything you thought you knew. And yet, these very seasons hold the secret of transformation. Crushing is not punishment, it is preparation. Just as grapes must be pressed to release wine, your life has walked through pressure in order to release something greater. Without the pressing, there is no pouring. Without the breaking, there is no blessing. The letter to the Hebrews reminds us in chapter 12, verse 11, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." The pain you've endured has not been pointless. It has been training you. It has been shaping you into a vessel that can carry what is coming. Think of clay in the hands of a potter. At first, it is formless, resistant, unyielding. The potter presses, spins, reshapes. The clay may feel destroyed in the process, but in truth, it is being refined into something purposeful and beautiful. That has been your life. The spinning seasons, the pressure, the heat, they have not destroyed you. They have formed you. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Esther, not the queen of Scripture, but an ordinary woman who lived through extraordinary trials. She lost her job. Her health wavered. Her relationships strained. She felt like everything was breaking at once. But through that breaking, she discovered a strength she never knew existed. She began journaling her prayers. And those very words later became a source of encouragement to hundreds of others walking through their own valleys. What she thought was the end became the seed of her ministry. Your story mirrors hers in some way. What you thought was your breaking point is becoming your birthing point. The very struggles that threaten to silence you are the ones that will empower your testimony. Think of a pearl. It is formed inside an oyster through irritation, through the constant grinding of sand. What begins as discomfort becomes, over time, a treasure. In the same way, the irritations, the constant pressures of your life, are shaping beauty within you that could not come any other way. Chosen one. This is the refining fire, not the gentle warmth of comfort, but the blazing heat that transforms raw material into gold, and gold cannot be corrupted easily. Gold survives where wood and straw perish. That is why your trials have felt intense, because the destiny within you requires refinement, not ease. You may have prayed, "Lord, take this cup from me," but often, the cup you carry is the very vessel of your calling. Jesus himself endured the crushing of Gethsemane, and out of that pressing came redemption for the world. Your pressing will not be wasted either. And notice this, those who carry deep anointing often carry deep scars. The oil flows where the crushing has been. The fragrance of your life will not be perfume bought cheaply. It will be the aroma of someone who walked through fire and emerged refined. Do not despise the crushing. Do not assume it is the end. Even now, as you recall your hardest nights, understand this: every tear was watering a harvest. Every disappointment was tilling soil. Every unanswered question was carving out space for greater glory. Think of a seed buried in the ground. From the outside, it looks dead, covered in dirt, pressed by weight, unseen. But in truth, the covering is the condition for growth. Only in the darkness of the soil does life awaken. The crushing of the shell is the beginning of the tree. So let your heart be encouraged. What has been heavy will become holy. What has been breaking, you will begin to bless you. The refining fire has not come to consume you, but to prepare you. And when you look back, you will see what others could not, that the crushing was never cruelty. It was craftsmanship. You are being shaped into something that will carry more glory than you ever imagined. So when you remember the seasons of crushing, do not call them wasted years. Call them sacred years. They were the hidden workshop of heaven, where your spirit was forged in silence and your character was tempered in fire. And now, every scar you carry is not shame, but signature. They testify that you survived the refining flames and emerged as gold, ready to shine in the hands of God. There is a vision waiting for you, beyond the battle, the vision of a crown. It is not the crown of men, fragile and temporary, but the crown of heaven, eternal and incorruptible. This crown is not merely an accessory, it is the visible sign of your victory, the testimony that you endured, believed, and remained faithful until the end. The Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." The crown represents more than reward. It represents recognition, heaven acknowledging the weight you carried, the tears you shed, the choices you made in silence that no one else applauded, every act of obedience, every whispered prayer, every moment you resisted, giving up has been recorded. And nothing is forgotten. Think of a runner in a marathon. Most of the race is not glamorous. It is sweat, pain, exhaustion, and sometimes loneliness. The crowd cheers at the finish line. But the real struggle was in the unseen miles. Yet when the runner crosses the line, the crown or the medal testifies to all the unseen effort. That is what your heavenly crown will be. A declaration that you finished, even when you felt you couldn't. Let me share a story. A woman named Lydia endured years of caregiving for a sick parent. It was lonely, thankless work. Friends drifted away. Opportunities passed her by. And sometimes she wept, wondering if her life had any purpose at all. But she remained faithful in her love and her prayers. When her parent finally passed peacefully, Lydia felt an overwhelming presence of God's assurance. She realized she had been wearing a crown all along, the hidden crown of faithfulness. Later, her testimony encouraged others to remain steadfast in their own trials. That is the nature of the heavenly crown. It is both future and present. One day, you will receive it fully in eternity. But even now, in moments of perseverance, you taste its glory. Each time you choose faith over fear, patience over bitterness, surrender over rebellion, the invisible crown glimmers. Think of a torchbearer running through darkness. The torchlight is not the reward at the end. It is the very evidence that he is part of something larger, something worth carrying. In the same way, the crown is not just at the finish line. Its weight is already resting on you as you endure. Chosen one, do not despise the process. Crowns are not handed out in comfort. They are forged in fire. Just as gold must be refined, so must character be shaped. The crown of heaven is not cheap, because your destiny is not small. And understand this, crowns are not given for perfection, but for perseverance. You may stumble, you may fall, but if you rise again, if you keep pressing forward, if you cling to hope even when your hands shake, the crown remains promised. The Lord does not forget those who long for him, even in weakness. Imagine a jeweler crafting a crown. Each gem is chosen carefully, each setting polished with precision. The process takes time, but when complete, the crown shines with unmatched brilliance. Your life is being crafted the same way. Each trial adds a gem. Each act of obedience sets it firmly in place. When the process is done, the crown you carry will tell the story of a life refined by faith. So lift your eyes beyond the temporary struggles. See the eternal. There is a crown prepared for you, not of earthly metal, but of heavenly glory. It is not fleeting. It cannot tarnish. And when it rests upon your head, it will testify not only to what you endured, but to the one who carried you through it all. Hold fast. Then, your journey has not been in vain. Your crown is already gleaming in the courts of heaven, waiting for the day when the righteous judge places it on your head. And until that moment, every step you take, every choice you make, is shaping the eternal reward that no hand can take away. So when the road feels endless and the night grows long, remember, the crown is not far away. Each weary step is still counted. Each silent tear is still seen. Nothing you endure in faith is ever wasted in the eyes of heaven. And one day, you will stand before the King, and he will place the crown upon your head. In that moment, every sacrifice will make sense. Every wound will shine, and joy will overflow without end. There is a stirring across the earth. a call not to the crowds, but to the remnant, those who refuse to bow to the patterns of this age, those who carry oil in their lamps, those who remain awake while others sleep. You are part of that remnant, a chosen company marked not by numbers, but by fire. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 5. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. This word is not for everyone. It is for the ones who know deep inside that they are not here by accident. You feel the pull, the separation, the call to rise when others are satisfied with comfort. That call is not imagination. It is destiny. Think of a battlefield after the dust has settled. The crowd may scatter, but a small group remains bruised, bloodied, but unbroken. They are few, but they carry the spirit of victory. That is what the remnant looks like. Not the loudest, not the largest, but the most faithful. Let me share a story. A man named Daniel felt like he had lost everything: his job, his friends, his sense of direction. But in that loss, he discovered prayer. Not the polished prayers of public gatherings, but the raw cries whispered in solitude. Over time, his prayers became strength. He carried a light that could not be hidden. Later, when others around him faced despair, they leaned on his faith. Daniel became part of the remnant, not because of status, but because of endurance. Chosen one. This is the calling over you: to rise, to carry the flame, to stand when others sit, to shine when others hide. And this rising is not solitary, it is collective. The remnant gathers together. Their lights form a constellation in the night, guiding others home. Now, I want to pause, not to pressure, not to demand, but to invite, because what we build together is not mine alone, it is ours. When you like, share, and subscribe, you are not just clicking buttons, you are laying stones into a cathedral of light. Each action is a brick that helps raise a temple where hope can echo further. A single stone may seem small, but together they form a sanctuary. When you leave a comment, it is not simply text, it is like adding your note into a choir. One voice might fade, but many voices blend into a chorus that fills the sky. Your words strengthen the sound of the remnant rising, and when you choose to donate, do not see it as payment, but as planting. It is a seed dropped into a living garden. Each seed adds color, fragrance, and fruit. Or imagine it as pouring oil into a lighthouse lamp, ensuring the beam continues to shine across stormy seas, guiding ships home. Whether you share, comment, donate, or subscribe, each act is voluntary. Each act is beautiful. Nothing here is demanded. Everything here is invitation. Because the remnant does not rise through force, it rises through grace, through hearts choosing freely to carry the flame. So, lift your eyes. See the stars forming. See the temple rising. See the lighthouse glowing. This is the work of the remnant. This is the call on your life. And together, our lights will only grow brighter. So do not underestimate the beauty of your part. Even the smallest act, one word, one seed, one spark carries power in the hands of God. The remnant is never built by grand gestures alone. but by countless small flames that together become a blazing fire. And remember, the remnant is not about perfection. It is about perseverance. You may have stumbled, but you are still here. You may have been wounded, but you did not give up. That faithfulness is what sets you apart. What keeps your flame burning even in the darkest nights. When you choose to rise, you are joining a lineage from Elijah's 7,000 who did not bow to idols, to the hidden church that thrived in catacombs, to the faithful voices today. The remnant has always been God's answer in times of decline. And now, you carry that same torch. Think of constellations in the night sky. Alone, a single star is small, but together, they form patterns that have guided travelers for centuries. That is what the remnant is, scattered lights, far apart, yet connected, forming a map that directs the lost toward hope. So lift your flame high. Know that you are not alone. All across the earth, others like you are rising, answering the same call. And when these lights join together, darkness has no chance. Identity is not something the world can hand you, and it is not something the world can take away. Your identity was written before time began, inscribed by the hand of God Himself. Yet, throughout your journey, you have been pressured, mislabeled, and misunderstood. People tried to define you by your failures, your past, or your weakness, but none of those names are your true name. The Apostle Peter reminds us in his first letter, chapter 2, verse 9, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of Him who called you out of darkness." This is your identity, chosen, royal, holy, His possession. It is unshakable because it rests not on performance, but on promise. Think of a coin buried in the dirt. Though it lies hidden and covered in soil, its value never decreases. The dirt may conceal it, but it cannot erase what was stamped upon it by its maker. In the same way, the trials and mistakes of your past may have buried you, but they never erase the mark of God upon your life. Let me share a story. A man named Marcus spent years chasing affirmation from others. He molded himself to fit their expectations, changing masks depending on the room he entered. But one day, exhausted by pretending, he opened Scripture and read the words, "You are my beloved Son." That single moment shifted everything. Marcus realized he had been chasing names that could never satisfy, while his true identity had been waiting all along. From that day, he walked differently, not to earn love, but because he was already loved, chosen one. This is the shift that must take root in you. You are not what others said. You are not your failures. You are not the labels that have clung to you. You are who God says you are, and what He declares cannot be overturned. Think of a mountain. Winds may howl, storms may beat upon it, yet it stands unmoved, rooted deep into the earth. Your identity is that mountain. Circumstances may strike, people may misunderstand, but what God has rooted will not topple. There will always be voices that try to shake you, voices of comparison, voices of accusation, voices of doubt, but none of them hold authority. They are echoes, not decree. The decree was written in eternity. You are chosen, royal, holy, his. And the beauty of this identity is that it is not fragile. You don't have to protect it like glass. Fearful it will shatter. It is forged like iron, tested in fire, strengthened by storms. The very battles you faced have only confirmed what was already true. Think of a crown fashioned for a king, even if misplaced, even if tarnished. Its design still declares royalty. When it is cleaned and restored, its brilliance shines again. That is your life, even if seasons left you feeling dimmed. The crown upon your head has not been removed. Chosen one, stand tall. Identity is not about arrogance, it is about assurance. You don't need to shout who you are, you only need to walk in it. Those who carry true authority don't announce it, they embody it. And in embodying it, you become a beacon. Others who are lost in confusion will see your steadiness and realize there is a firmer ground to stand on. Your unshakable identity becomes a map for wandering souls. So let your heart rest. You don't have to strive for what is already yours. You don't have to fight for a name that was given before you were born. You don't have to fear being forgotten, because heaven has already inscribed you in its story. Unshakable identity means walking freely. It means rising after every fall. Not because you never stumbled, but because stumbling does not define you. It means shining even when misunderstood, because misunderstanding cannot diminish truth. It means carrying peace even when the world shakes, because you know the rock you stand on cannot move. And one day, when you look back, you will see clearly. Every rejection only stripped away false names. Every trial only revealed your true nature. Every storm only carved your roots deeper. You will realize you were unshakable all along, not because of your strength, but because of His seal upon you. So hold fast to this truth. Your name in heaven has never changed. It has never been erased, never been revised, never been questioned. It stands eternal, unshaken by time, stronger than the lies that tried to define you. And when the world trembles, you will remain steady, not because storms avoid you, but because your roots are anchored in the unbreakable identity given by God Himself. There comes a moment when everything spoken over you begins to converge. Like streams flowing into a single river, the seasons of struggle, the nights of hidden battles, the crushing, the refining, the waiting, they were not random fragments. They were chapters of one story, weaving together into a tapestry of destiny. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. End. Completion. That is the word that marks this season. Not perfection, not the absence of scars, but the fulfillment of purpose. The God who began your story will not abandon it midway. He is the author who never leaves his book unfinished. Think of a painter working on a canvas. At first, the strokes look random, the colors messy, the image unclear. But with time, each detail finds its place, and the masterpiece emerges. Your life has felt like scattered strokes, confusing and incomplete. Yet now, the broader picture is being revealed. The hand of the artist has never lifted. He has been painting all along. Let me share a story. A woman named Miriam carried dreams that seemed shattered. She endured seasons where nothing made sense, where every door seemed closed. Yet she remained faithful in the little she could do, praying, serving, waiting. Years later, as opportunities opened, she realized each closed door had redirected her steps to the one path that truly mattered. Looking back, the delays made sense. The pain had purpose. The unfinished pieces were all part of the larger design. Chosen one. That is your assurance as well. None of your journey is wasted. Even the detours, even the mistakes, even the seasons that felt like silence, they all fold into the story of completion. God is not surprised by your scars. He is not hindered by your weakness. In fact, those are the very places where His strength is revealed most brightly. Think of a mosaic. Each shard of broken glass on its own looks useless, sharp, even dangerous. But in the hands of the artist, the shards are placed together into patterns of beauty. What was once broken becomes breathtaking. That is what your life is, a mosaic of grace. Every piece fitted into a masterpiece, greater than the sum of its parts. Completion also means courage, because to step into the final chapters of your calling, you must believe that you are ready, not because you feel prepared, but because He has prepared you. The oil flows only after the crushing, the crown rests only after endurance, the authority awakens only after the fire. You have walked through all of it, and now you stand equipped. There will still be battles ahead, but you will face them differently, because you now know who you are. You are chosen, refined, unshakable. You carry scars, but they are your signatures. You have endured rejection, but it has become your redirection. You have survived crushing, but it has released your oil. So do not fear what is next. The same God who began the work will finish it. The same hand that held you in the valley will lift you on the mountain. The same Spirit that whispered in your weakness will roar through you in strength. And when the day comes to look back on your journey, you will not see fragments, you will see fullness. You will not see failure, you will see faithfulness. You will not see abandonment, you will see completion. For the author has written every line, the potter has shaped every curve, the shepherd has guided every step, and the story he writes always ends in glory. So lift your head and breathe deeply. You are standing at the threshold of fulfillment, where yesterday's burdens transform into tomorrow's blessings. What once weighed you down is now the very proof that you endured and arrived at this moment whole. And let your heart rest in this truth. Completion is not the end of your story, but the unfolding of it. What God finishes, He also multiplies. The seed that was planted in pain now blossoms into a harvest that others will taste, long after your tears have dried. Finally, know this. Your journey is not simply about survival. It is about legacy. Every scar becomes a testimony. Every prayer becomes a foundation stone. Every step of obedience becomes a map for those who come after you. Completion is not closure. It is the doorway into eternal impact. Chosen one. You have walked with me through this entire word. Every section has been a step, every image a window, every scripture a reminder that your destiny is not random, it is divine. You are chosen, refined, and crowned for this very moment in history. But this is not the end. It is the beginning of your rising. What you have received today is not meant to stay in your heart alone. Light is not given to be hidden. Oil is not poured to be stored. Fire is not sparked to remain small. It is meant to spread. That is why I gently invite you to take action, not out of pressure, but as a beautiful choice of alignment. When you like, share, and subscribe, you are lifting this message higher, like raising a torch so that others lost in the night may see the flame. Your simple act may become the very signpost someone else has been waiting for. When you leave a comment, it is not just words, it is a testimony. It is like writing your name into the tapestry of the remnant. Your voice adds to the chorus, saying, I was here, I received, I believe. Each comment becomes a ripple of faith, echoing further than you may ever realize. And when you choose to donate, see it not as loss, but as sowing. Every seed you plant ensures that this well of words will keep flowing, that the flame will not dim. Your generosity is like oil poured into a lamp, keeping it burning for travelers still searching for home. It is also like laying another brick on a bridge. Every gift helps extend the path, so others may safely cross into hope. Remember, all of this is voluntary. All of this is beautiful. Nothing here is demanded. Everything here is invitation. And when you join in, you are not supporting a voice, you are strengthening a movement of light. So let your flame rise. Chosen one, together, through your faith, your presence, and your generosity, the message will go further. The light will burn brighter, and the remnant will continue to stand unshaken,